Hello and Assalamualaikum everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank to our lecturer Dr. Zaki and my fellow friends. Today, our group will present about marine environmental pollution control. Before I start my presentation, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Khairunnisa binti Azhar and my metric number is 261542. Today, I would like to do the part of introduction. Malaysia and China have signed an agreement of setting up of China-Malaysia Friendship Industrial Park CMFILP in Sepang, Selangor. CMFILP is not only reaffirmed their long-standing economic tie and bilateral trade between the two countries, but also mark a new dawn hope for the local people to seek a better socio-economic condition. The China-Shanghai Construction Group have given responsibility to build the industrial park, including the construction of depth water port. The Department of Environmental of Malaysia have been appointed as a representative of the Malaysian government to handle any environmental related issue arising from the CMFILP project and need to provide a report of this project. Next, I would like to pass to the next presenter, Hajar.
Thank you, Khairunnisa, for the briefing. My name is Siti Hajar binti Yusoff. My metric number is 262737. So now we move to research objective. There were 4 research objectives in our study, which is the first one is to identify and examine potential marine environmental pollution generated during the construction phase and operational phase of the CMFILP, to identify and explain the norms, principles, rules and management measures under international legal and normative framework to mitigate and prevent land-based and vessel-based sources of pollution in the internal water and territorial sea, to identify and investigate the relevant national laws and regulations of Malaysia to control and prevent land-based and vessel-based sources pollution in the country, internal and territorial sea. And the last one is to identify and determine the measurement measure recommended and required for the CMFILP and CSGC to comply with. Next, I will discuss part of potential marine environmental pollution from CMFILP in Sepang District, Selangor. There are two phases of possible pollution, which is during construction and operational phase. So, during the construction phase, pollution that might be occur is presence of solid waste, or also known as total suspended solid. It can be defined as any unwanted products from the construction, renovation and defeat works. The common materials of construction waste are as diverse as rubbish, stone, electrical wiring and other woody materials. Solid waste can be classified as hazardous waste as it may contain toxic substances such as hydrogen sulfide, mercury and lead. The unintentional and intentional dumping of the solid waste material will likely be detrimental to the health of the surrounding fragile marine habitats and ecosystem. For example, from 2004 to 2013, there had been an increasing trend of illegal dumping activity of TSS into the sea in the state of Penang, Johor, Melaka and Selangor. So the second one is bottom water contamination. Bottom water contamination can occur by construction activity as well as by the happening of non-routine events. Destruction and disposal of water can change the current pattern and cause water stagnation due to uncontrolled release of refuse and rubbish such as packaging, construction materials and refuse. Chemical contaminant found in diesel, oils and other toxic chemicals caused by construction activity can also pollute the adjacent body of water in number of ways, such as through drains or run off directly into river or lakes. It will causing the water quality to deteriorate and poisonous for marine habitat to survive. Next is sedimentation. Sediments are commonly composed of loose sand, clay, and other soil particles that inhabit into body of water. Sedimentation normally can occur during the construction operation involving removal or disposal of soils and sand that been transported by water. Within a few hours, a small construction site can be generate enough sediment load to pollute the entire sea due to its close proximity to the sea. Some of the environmental effects sedimentation, including as loss of coral reef, human health, decreased fishery resources, and shoreline change. Next, we move to operational pace. So the first one, potential pollution that may lead to marine pollution is oil spill and oily waste. An oil spill is the release of liquid petroleum such as gasoline, diesel, bunker fuel, and unrefined crude oil. Oil spill waste can occur from the wide range sources such as transport of tanker operation or accident, municipal or industrial waste, and land-based oily discharge have caused oil pollution in the marine environment. Oil spill and oily waste may directly and indirectly inflict disrupt of fragile underwater ecosystem. For example, a coastal city in India, Chennai, the devastating of impacted by a major oil spill in the 2007. The oil spill occurred when the two cargo ships collided about 2 miles off the coast of the Chennai. Next, during the operational phase of CMFILP, there is possible pollution of higher presence of heavy metal. The term heavy metal refers to metallic chemical elements with relatively high density and toxicity. Heavy metals can enter a water supply by operational pace of industrial and even from mine drainage. So some of the heavy metal highly toxic such as iron, magnesium, lead and mercury are toxic even in small amounts and harmful into aquatic sediments. Malaysia, heavy metal sludge was one of the main wasted produce. For example, in National Water Quality Standard in Malaysia recorded, iron metal was the dominant metal in Selangor River in 2017 due to the continuous increase in the industrial activity. Lastly is unused and waste material pollution. The waste comes from chemicals used in the operation phase such as maintenance and chemical waste, sludge and domestic waste. This includes maintenance of equipment such as fuel, oil, lubricant and cleaning fluids. All these unused material may contain lead, asbestos or other hazardous substances, and it will cause the adjacent coastal and inshore water likely be detrimental to the health of the surrounding fragile marine habitats and ecosystem where the location of the CMFILP is near the sea. For example, 2010, in Sentarum River, West Java, Indonesia, the textile manufacturers such as Zara, Adidas, and H&M have allowed industry to discharge toxic waste by processes such as textile bleaching and coloring. So that's all from me. I will pass to Asma as a next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Hajar, for the informative presentation just now. Hello, everyone. My name is Noor Asma Husna binti Muhammad Sain, and my metric number is 263080. So now I will continue with the International Legal and Normative Framework for Marine Pollution Prevention. Firstly, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, LOSC. Under the LOSC, it describes the right and obligation of nations with respect to their use of the world sea, set out rules for cooperation, the environment, and the management of marine natural resources. LOSC is an important convention that established in the international rule to prevent, reduce, and control pollution of marine environment. So there are numerous articles that mention about the land-based and vessel-based pollution. So the article that relate with the project, which is Article 207, pollution from land-based resource. Article 209, pollution from activities in the area. Article 210, pollution by dumping. And Article 211, pollution from vessel. Next, the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ship, MAPOL. MAPOL is the main international convention covering prevention of pollution of the marine environment by ship from operational or accidental causes. The convention includes regulation aimed at the preventing and minimizing pollution from ship. Next, 1972 London Convention on the Prevention of Marine Pollution by Dumping Waste and Other Matter. It is one of the first global conventions to protect the marine environment from human activity. The objective is to promote the effective control of all sources of marine pollution and to take all practicable step to prevent pollution of the sea by dumping of waste and other matter. So now we continue with the management and the protection measure. First, compliance of environmental impact assessment. The Rio Declaration on Environment and Development has guided the framework for environmental impact assessment (EIA). The preliminary assessment objectives that contained in the Department of Environment are: first, to examine and select the best from the project option available, to identify and incorporate into the project plan appropriate abatement and mitigating measure, to identify significant residual environmental impact, and the last one to identify the environmental costs and benefits of the project to the community. So there are a few process of the EIA, which is scanning, scoping, impact analysis, impact mitigation, reporting, review, decision making, and monitoring. Next, installation of oily waste reception center. This is another requirement that can be used by the CMFILP by building a waste reception center nearby the developing area. The building of waste reception center is almost as the same as the port reception center, but only focus more on the coastal area that target waste from the factory and housing project. IMO has recognized the prevention of reception facilities is important for effective MAPOL implementation, and the Marine Environment Protection Community has strongly encouraged member states to fulfill their treaty obligation on providing adequate reception facilities. Building water and sewage treatment plant. Unsafe management and disposal of ship waste can readily lead to adverse health consequences. Humans can become exposed directly both on ship and at port as a result of the contact with the waste, which is not being managed in a safe manner. Exposure also can happen via the environmental transfer due to the unsafe disposal. Sewage treatment plants are constructed to transform the raw sewage into an easier manageable waste and to reuse the straight sewage water. From the environmental standpoint, the most important aspect of the sewage treatment plant is the proposed disposal or use of the sludge and the treated sewage water.
Thank you, Asma. Next, I will present about National Legislative Framework for a Marine Environmental Pollution Control. In this part, they are divided into three, which is federal law, state law, and municipal law. Under federal law, we use Malaysian Environmental Quality Act 1974. It is the most comprehensive piece of the legislation to deal with environmental protection and pollution control. We look to the section 27 and 29 of this article, which is CMFILP need to comply with. Second, we look into a Merchant Shipping Ordinance 1952. This is a Malaysian legislation that deal with a marine pollution and specifically with the vessel-based pollution. This act was the oldest law that was introduced to solve the Merchant Shipping Ordinance 1952. We look into the section 49 1B in bracket 1 in bracket K stated about the ship-to-ship activity. This is because CMFILP need to follow this federal law as a guideline before they start their construction. Next, we go through to the state and municipal law. Under state law, there is Selangor Water Management Authority Act enactment. Selangor Water Management Authority Act enactment shall apply to all rivers within the state of Selangor. This enactment contains 14 parts with 130 sections. We look to the section 41 to section 45. Then we look into the section 47, which is the authority may advise CMFILP management to develop on any land. Lastly, we look into the section 78 in bracket 4 stated about the penalty if CMFILP break the rules and regulation.
Everyone, I'm Yuyin. So I'm gonna introduce about the 8.0 recommended management measure. So in the 8.0 recommended management measure, we have two phase, that is construction phase and operational phase. So we start with the construction phase. So in the construction phase, we have 4 elements. That is first one, complying the criteria of DOE environment impact assessment. Second, designated solid waste reception center. And the third, prohibit dumping of engine oil waste. And the fourth will be the restricting land reclamation in sensitive marine area. The CMFLP is recommended to complying with the criteria of the DOE environment impact assessment. The contractor have the responsible to provide the information on the environment impact caused by the project. For example, the EIA has been used in the European Commission as EIA directive, which apply to a wide range of the defined public and private projects. Second, during the construction phase, the CMFLP is also recommended to establish a designated solid waste reception center. We can see that based on the data from the OECD in 2008, where the amount of waste generated by sector, municipal waste and the construction waste was the highest among all the type of waste. And designated solid waste reception center is also a standard which we can see applied in the European Union Waste Directive. And the Waste Framework Directive set out basic requirement for the member state to handling the waste, where the basic requirement is prohibit the dumping of the uncontrolled disposal of waste, establish an integrated and effective network of waste disposal plants, prepare waste management plans, ensure that those who store waste handle it properly, and ensure that the waste treatment operations are licensed. Venture parks should also prohibit from carry out any illegal dumping of the engine oil waste into the territorial sea and the internal waters. It is a standard restated in the London Convention that is aimed to protect the marine environment from human activity. For example, we can see that the prohibition is reflected in the LEC Multi-Use Collection Act that prohibits the discharge of the used oil into the drainage system. So during the construction phase, the CMFRP also restricted from carry out the land reclamation in sensitive marine area. Sensitive marine area or environment sensitive zone are places that have special attribution to the environment and that should be carefully managed by the state. We can see that in European Union 7 Environment Action Programme, this is aimed to ensure that by 2020 the land is managed sustainably. And also in India, the coastal regular zone, they have rules to govern the human and industrial activity close to the coastline in order to protect the fragile ecosystem near the sea. The operational phase, the construction company is required to install oily waste reception facility at the port. It is even recognized by the IMO towards the implementations of the MAPOR, stating that the member states are encouraged to fulfill their treaty obligation to provide waste reception facility for ship-generated waste. For example, the Australia, as a member of the MARITIME, has ensured that the facility is adequate in the ports to carry out the normal operation for the ship. The park should also install the waste trap in the construction site and industrial facility. For example, the slip fan is a stormwater management practice that used by the United States under the U.S. Clean Water Act. This practice can keeping the soil on a construction site rather than letting it be washed off into the natural water bodies and cause sedimentation. Also, under the British building regulation, grease traps should be equipped in the commercial food premises that servicing the hot food. The grease trap can filter the grease from the sewage water and avoid the water contamination. Furthermore, the park should also provide the water and sewage water treatment plant. This facility is used to remove contaminants and produce treated wastewater that is safe enough for release into the environment. In the Annex 4 of the MARITIME have provided a set of regulations that to prevent the pollution by the sewage. For example, in Australia, Queensland, operators are licensed under the Environment Protection Act 1994 to discharge the treated wastewater at an acceptable environment standard into the waterways. CMFLP is suggested to promote recycling program during the operation phase. One of the approaches that can be made by the Friendship Park is to participate in the program of recycle the used engine oil. Recycling and reusing used motor oil is preferable to disposal and can provide great environmental benefits. For instance, the Australian government has supported the recycling of used engine oil by introducing the product stewardship for oil cream. This project is aimed to encourage the environmentally sustainable management and re-refining of used oil and its reuse. Conclusion, the China-Malaysia Friendship Industry Park need to aware about the potential marine environment pollution caused by the project activity. The park should refer to the norm, principle, and rules of the International Convention to prevent land-based and vessel-based source of pollution in the internal water and territorial sea. The park need to also follow the national law and regulation currently adopted by the Malaysian government to minimize the marine pollution. Most important, the CMFILP should also comply with the recommended management measurement during the construction and operational phase to prevent marine pollution from occurring.